Ever since I met my first Godskin Apostle, I never thought I'd have to fight him again, but then I met him again, and then a noble, and then both of them. Welcome back, Classy Crew, to another Elden Ring journal as I journey through this game for the first time, trying to slay every single boss without using any summons because we got to keep it spicy. I have to say, this past week has been my most productive week ever in counting down some bosses. I started the week at 74 bosses slain. Now we are at 83. I knocked down 9, mostly because I went back to some older regions and I cleared out some areas that I hadn't done before. Now I have progressed a little bit into the Forgotten regions, and this is where, or the Forbidden, whatever it is, I'm in the snow zone. I'm in Canada, and I've met some horrors here, including some Godskin bullshit and some great things like a beautiful fire giant, which I'm going to be sharing my impressions of. Now, the Godskin Apostle, these guys have been the bane of my existence since I think I first met them in Liurnia in the windmill village, which was thematic. It was fair. I'm like, okay, here's a bunch of witch ladies who love to like take your skin and wear it and dance around with it. That's all. Okay, we got a Godskin Apostle. All right, this is a pretty tough boss. Got some cool things. Got a little kazoo thing going. For those who don't know, that's a monster from Monster Hunter who looks like a... I was like, all right, good fight. We can close this chapter and move on. And then I'm like, this has to be the end of these guys. Like, I usually like fighting on the chunky boys. I think I've shared this in a previous journal, but the Godskin Noble is so fast and aggressive. He doesn't fit the definition of chunky boys. He's chunky, but he's not slow and sluggish. He's like, and then when you get to the halfway point, he starts roly-polying all around you. And I have to say, I didn't know how to deal with that until recently. So the roly-polies were a bane of my existence, but now I figured out how to do it. But then I made it to the Volcano Manor where I found a bullshitty noble, because now the arena was a little bit smaller and this one just hit a heck of a lot harder. So this one really scarred me, and I think this just happened like a week or two ago. So I've got Godskin flavor in my mouth, which I'm like, I've had enough. But now, as part of my journeying through the Forbidden Lands, I came across it was a snail cave. So I already know the gimmick of the snail. You kill the snail, everything else dies. You don't want to fight anything else. I encountered this in Liurnia with a Crucible Knight. For the first time, I killed the Crucible Knight, and then I saw the snail show up, and I was like, oh, the snail was here the whole time. So in this cave, when I made it to the final boss, it was a Godskin Apostle, and I knew the gimmick. So I was like, where's the snail? So I was like wailing literally in the open everywhere, because I thought you could hit the snail even if it doesn't show itself. Now, I don't think that's true, because I slash my weapon everywhere and I never hit a snail. So I'm like, oh, you actually have to kill the boss to unveil the snail to then kill the snail before he resummons the boss. I did the Godskin Apostle. These things I've kind of gotten comfortable with. They telegraph pretty good, and if you stay close, you avoid most of their nasty attacks, especially his long, flaily body one. What I wasn't ready for, though, was a secondary Godskin Noble to follow up immediately after that, which now I have to stretch out my resources of drinks, of healing drinks, across 2 Godskin jerks. And this one, the arena is so small, so when he starts rolling, it just hurts so much more. Oh my goodness, I was panicking so much. But what I learned is that when he rolls, you just got to run and keep his feet in front of you. So as long as you're running, so you're both basically running in a circle like idiots. But yeah, so I killed those. Then the snail showed up. Oh my goodness, when that snail showed up. I have to say though, this cave was great because I found my first samurai armor, which is something I've been looking for in this game for a long time. So now I've got samurai armor. I've also found 3 new katanas. I've got so many katanas. It's kind of crazy. This past week, I found the Moonveil katana. I found the Nagakiba, which is like a super long one. I found the Uchigata, oh my goodness, and the legendary Rivers of Blood. Now I have to say, I've been having so much fun with my current weapon. I don't even know if I want to play with katanas anymore, and I know if I do, my chat's all going to be like, oh, he's not really playing the game, he's just weaving through it. So I have them, but I don't have as much appetite to use them. But the samurai armor, oh yeah, I'm totally decked out in samurai armor with a stupid hat on top. So anyways, before all this bullshit, I went back to Caelid, and I found a bunch of stuff there that I didn't find before. There was a whole area I didn't explore, so I found a fort called Fort Jael. Nothing too exciting here. I found that dragon that I was scared of way back called the Decaying Zyke, and that thing was a decent challenge, and it fell, so I got myself another dragon heart. Found another, what do you call those things? The catacomb, where I found 2 Erdtree burial watchdogs, one with a scepter, one with a sword. At this point, honestly, all these bosses are just falling easily because I'm level 100. I found a magma worm, and this is how I got my moon veil. So there's kind of like a link between Limgrave, a cave between Limgrave and Caelid. And there's a magma worm here, which I've now fought twice already, like that type of boss. So that wasn't too bad. I was surprised how chunky his health was, considering my level of weapon and my level of character. But I had to hit on him quite a bit. Anyways, he drops the moon veil, which apparently is an amazing weapon, but it's an intelligence katana, and I don't have a lot of intelligence. So after that, I think I've exhausted. I don't even know if there's anything left to do in Caelid outside of Dragon Barrow. I feel I've exhausted everything I need to do there. If I've missed anything, please let me know. But otherwise, I went to Limgrave and I went up the river where Patches was, and I found a bunch of other caves and other bosses, including a Grave Warden duelist. He was, again, this is starting area game, so he got killed in like 4 hits. I found a Guardian Golem, and I found a Black Knife Assassin, which I'm curious about the lore here, because when you enter, he's already at half health, which is really interesting. I didn't even get to really understand what the boss is. I walked in, I whipped him 3 times, he was dead. I think I might be missing 1 or 2 things in Limgrave, but I was satisfied exploring the river, so I moved on to Lyrna, and I discovered a whole underground system with ants. I didn't even, I completely missed this whole section, but it's the Ainsel River, and people were like, get ready to get creeped out. I was like, oh no, don't tell me we're going into a spider nest. But luckily it was an ant nest. I'm okay with ants. Yeah, they're a little creepy, but they're nothing compared to the freaking big hairy hands. So exploring that, I came across the Dragonkin Soldier of Noxtella, which was a pretty epic fight. Had a good time with him. There was this big beast moth thing hanging from the ceiling in one place. I was trying to get to it. I have no idea how to get to it. People said it was parkour, but I couldn't connect I couldn't even see where I needed to go. I spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. Couldn't figure it out. So maybe one day I'll come back to, I don't even know what I would come back with. Maybe it's accessible through a different area, because there was kind of like a platform behind him. So I think I have to find a way to get around and come through there. And once I've exhausted that, I finally went back to progressing the story, going to Forbidden Lands, because everything was so easy at this point. I'm like, okay, I probably should go into the territory where I'm going to get challenged. And here I found a new map. So pretty much all of the continent has now been revealed. I have 1 map, I think, that's missing in the top left. And this is where I found that cave with the stupid Godskin Apostle and Noble. Found the samurai armor. Also came across a new dragon. Every time I slay a dragon, there's a new one that shows up. So here I found the Borealis of the freezing fog. So I went a little bit too far into the ice lake. Everything kind of got foggy. I was like, oh no. I tried hitting it. I do 100 damage on him. So I'm like, no. Anyway, so I found a jail that there was a Roundtable Night Vike that people told me was the the character on the cover. And I was a little disappointed by how fast he fell. He didn't stand out much as a boss. He was it felt more like one of those invaders, and he was pretty easy to die. So I kept going up, and I was really, really disappointed into the Land of Giants to find a giant hand. They just keep making these things bigger and grow. They're not grosser, they're just bigger, and by being bigger they're grosser. So now there is a giant hand on this mountain, which I'm not even gonna get close to. And I've also come across a church which had the Bloody Finger of Okina. So now I finally have the legendary Rivers of Blood weapon, which is the katana, which inflicts pretty much bleed on everybody, and you can even shoot bleed stuff. Again, I know that this is the weapon everybody used to pretty much make the game easy mode. I don't want to do that yet. I'm not banning myself from using it. I will probably use it if I come across a boss that's just absolute bullshit. And finally, I didn't explore much of the Forbidden Lands, much to chat. They're like, you're not exploring anything. I'm like, I don't want to explore this place. Everything is terrifying. And it just reminds me of the winter of Canada, which again is super depressing. So I'm like, nope, I'm going to book it to the top and get my flame. And that's where I came across the Fire Giant, which I have to say, fantastic fight. I love these big epic fights. I love giants. And just the fight of the mechanics of this fight are good. I almost slayed him. I was not optimal, but he was maybe 3 hits away, and then I panicked and I didn't understand the fight properly. I didn't know that his fire orb follows you and blows up at a certain range. I thought it was on a timer. Had I known that that would happen, I could have been a little bit more strategic in making the fire thing blow up away from his feet, coming back, beating his feet. In phase 2, I kept slaying his feet, which is not his weak point. I knew it's not his weak point, but I was panicking so much I couldn't really figure out where I had to hit him. And I didn't want to be near his arms because they're all on fire. So when he was on all fours, I was avoiding that. I was pretty much just hanging out under his crotch and just beating on whatever was in that area. And it was progressing the fight, and then sometimes he'd roll, but he would miss me with the rolls. So I'm like, this is a safe comfort place. It felt like I was kind of cheesing the fight, but I was okay with it because it's a fire giant and he was killing me a lot. So next time I think I will be a little bit more bold and try to understand the fight. This was at the end of stream, so I'm like, yeah, if I kill it, it's cool. If not, it's not the worst thing in the world. I can always come back to it. I did pretty much beeline it the Forbidden Land, so there's a bunch of other stuff I want to explore here too. I think there's a castle that I told everybody I'd go explore, and I kept exploring everything else except the castle. And then there's also another castle in near the Volcano Manor, which is in the Poison Land. So I have 2 castles to explore if the fire giant is too much for me to take on, because right now he's blocking my story progression. So yeah, I'll probably do those 2 castles, go back to Fire Giant, and keep cleaning things up. Where I'm at in my pledge, so 83 monsters have been slain. I'm not going to really keep track of the uniques anymore. I think I'm at 69 unique, and I'm at 102 in terms of levels. So I didn't level up too much. I suspect it's going to slow down now, or maybe it's because I spent so much time in the easy zones that I didn't level up. Either way, good progress. Feels really rewarding. We're getting close to the end game. Getting close to having to like get a little bit smarter with my boss fights. So looking forward to seeing what is beyond the fire giant. Join me if you can on stream. Otherwise, I will see you on the next journal. And until next time, keep it classy. Subscribe.